Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more Legacy action. Today, at the request of a donor, we are playing a pretty spicy Miracles deck. Now, the donor gave me quite a bit of freedom to mess around with the list they originally sent, and I kind of leaned into one aspect of it I quite liked. They had this Hall of Heliod's Generosity, and I want to lean into that a little bit more, and that's what we've done. So the basic shell of Miracles is to use Counterbalance to try and counter your opponent's spells, and then you have Miracle cards like Terminus to sweep the board, and Entreat the Angels as like your big finisher to win the game with. What the Hall of Heliod's Generosity allows us to do is put enchantments back on top so we can choose what the counterbalance is going to be. So not just Brainstorm setting it up, but we can actually go, okay, you put a 2-drop on the stack. I'm going to bring back this Dress Down, put it on top of my library, counter your spell for free, draw the Dress Down next turn. We can put it in the graveyard pretty much immediately by cycling in our turn, and then it's just ready if they cast another 2-drop. That's kind of one of the angles we're trying to do. And we are the sort of end game inevitability deck. We have Thwart. This allows us to bounce 3 islands. So what we do is we bounce these Mystic Sanctuaries, and then we replay them to put Thwart back on top of our library, and then we just have this sort of soft lock set up. We also have this card, Witness the Future. This allows us to shuffle up to 4 target cards from our graveyard into the library, and then you also get to Impulse on top of that. So this is just so that we can make sure that we can keep recurring stuff and keep spinning through our deck. One of the things that our donor really liked about their original list was Urza's Saga as a thing that we can recur. So putting this back on top with Hall of Heliod's Generosity gives us another win condition. This card is obviously powerful. It can access like the Soulguard Lantern and the Pithing Needle. I did kind of want a Shadow Spear in here, but I'm not really sure how to fit it in. Maybe we'll try and jigger around the sideboard in a second just to get one in for the matchups where we need the life gain. But we've got a lot of interesting enchantments to look at now. So Porphyry Nodes, you might not know this one. There's a green card that does exactly the same thing called Drop of Honey. At the beginning of your upkeep, destroy the creature with the least power. It can't be regenerated. If 2 or more creatures are tied, we choose. When there are no creatures, we sacrifice this. This is just such a good tool because if you play this against an aggro deck after they've already played a creature, they can either play more creatures into it and just hemorrhage cards, or they can sit back, wait for this to go away, and then start putting power into play. Which means that you end up delaying them, which allows you to get your land drops underneath you and get ready to deal with whatever comes next. We've got Seam Rip, which is just a nice piece of removal. Soul Snare is an interesting one to recur with the Hall of Heliod's Generosity against an aggro deck. It's a 1-mana enchantment. We pay white, sack it, exile target creature that's attacking you or a planeswalker you control. So we can just use this to just deal with the creature, put it back on top of our library, and just have this little loop set up against some aggro decks. Obviously, we've got Swords of Plowshares on our deck. We have a 1-off Stormchaser's Talent. The 4-mana ability to then get back a card is quite useful here. And then we can use this as a win condition as well. It's also a 1-mana enchantment that if it ends up in the bin for any reason, we can put it back on top to counter 1-drops using our Hall of Heliod's Generosity. Legacy's Allure might be one you're not familiar with. It's blue-blue. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may put a treasure counter on it. You can sacrifice this to gain control of a target creature with power less than or equal to the number of treasure counters on it. So what we really want to do with this is put 1 counter on it and make sure that Orcish Bowmasters isn't a thing we have to contend with anymore, because that'd be quite handy. Planar Disruption is a piece of Planeswalker removal. We enchant a Planeswalker and it can't attack, block, or activate its abilities. So pretty good against Kaito specifically as well. And we have a couple of Shark Typhoon. This is just a nice way of making a creature. It can block some stuff. It's kind of card advantage because we get a body and a card out of it. I really like this card. Orcish Bowmasters made this card less playable, but I still think it's a fine card. And then we have a 1-of Spicy Replenish to bring back all of our enchantments. So as we go through this game, trading off pieces, getting our Soul Snare, we have to sacrifice that. Let's say our Counterbalance gets destroyed, our Dress Down's in the bin, we cycled off some Shark Typhoons. All of a sudden, here comes a Replenish, boom. Everything's back in play, and we probably win the game from that point. It's like a nice little haymaker in the mid to late game where we can just go, actually, no, we want to win the game now. And it also brings back Urza's Saga as well. So I think there might be something to this Replenish plan. It's a very powerful spell to be firing off at people. In terms of the sideboard, we've got ourselves some Triumph of St. Catherine. A Seal of Cleansing is another one that we can keep recurring with the Hall of Heliod's Generosity. We've got some Forces, some Hydroblasts, Consigns, Surgical, a Lavinia, Grafdigger's Cage, and I've put another Counterbalance in the sideboard for matchups where a lot of our creature removal is looking dead. I wanted more stuff I could board in for that. I think I will just cut one of these Consigns now, though, and add in a Shadow Spear for when we need life gain that we can access off of our little Urza Saga package. There's so many things I wanted in this deck, and it was hard to try and fit them all in. But this is what we're playing today. So remember to like and subscribe. It's probably going to be a spicy one and a pretty grindy one, so you're going to get good value out of this video because I imagine it's going to be a long one. All right, let's get stuck in. For free, fast, and secure worldwide shipping on high-end singles, classic products, and full sets, check out 3-for-1 Trading. Whether it's the legacy or pre-modern that I play on this channel, or even vintage and old school, they've got you covered. Find them through the link in the description of this video and use my code COW3 for free worldwide shipping on your first order over $500 or euros. Okay, we have one land to begin with, which isn't really where I'd like to be here. We are on the draw. We do have some things we can play, including some cantrips. I will keep this one, but we're going to be looking for land. We are playing more land than you'd expect from a deck like ours. The Hall of Heliods are kind of in spell slots, so we're up to 22 lands. Not that colourless lands are always the most useful thing we have. Thwart might be difficult to leverage early on, but we've got a Brainstorm to fix our hand. Solgar Lantern can crush some stuff early doors if they're doing graveyard things. Windswept Heath. What flavour of Windswept Heath deck are we looking at? Green White Depths or some sort of Cradle Control style strategy? Or are we just doing lands? Okay, we're going to be in basic land mode here. Ghost Quarter. Okay, I guess we're not in basic land mode. Understood. I think we do need to ponder to find our next land drop as much as I would like to Solgar Lantern here. Come on, Ponder. Hook me up. Mystic Sanctuary is not really the land I want here. I think we're going to go any order and shuffle here. Tundra. Excellent. If they Ghost Quarter us, we can just go and get a basic island. Hopefully we can shut down a Life from the Loam soon using this Solgar Lantern. If we'd have drawn a land this turn, I would have played the Solgar Lantern out instead of the Ponder. Obviously we drew the Ponder, but I would have preferred to have got this Solgar Lantern down and already have our second land drop secured. Single green mana. Are we looking at a crop rotation here? Oh no, is it Life from the Loam? It is Life from the Loam. So we are going to nail this with the Solgar Lantern. Sphere of Resistance, you say. Pretty good. Just want to keep drawing lands at this point. This is never going to get big enough to deal with a Marit Lage. Okay, I would like to play this Solgar Lantern and just shut down the Life from the Loam straight away. Like, our opponent's got one card in hand. Their hand might not do anything apart from what they have in play right now. And if we can keep drawing lands, we'll be okay, and we can start, we can just leverage a Stormchaser's talent and get that going. Okay, a Dark Depths. That is a little bit of an issue for us. I would like to draw a Swords to Plowshares, please. Now, the problem we have is that if we cast this Brainstorm, it costs us 2 mana because of Sphere Resistance, which won't be enough to stop this Dark Depths. Will our opponent go for it this turn is the question. We've also spent a long time thinking about this, so it's quite clear we might not have the thing. Okay, well, let's just pass and see if our opponent goes for it or not. They didn't go for it. That is excellent news. So we managed to bluff them a little bit here. Urza's Saga. Yep, that's a pretty fine one to have. Our bluff was successful, and now we can Brainstorm in the end step. Move some bits and pieces around. Yikes. We are not having a great time here. Oh dear. The Legacy's Allure doesn't seem the most useful, does it? I guess the Thwart is even worse. 8 cards in hand. If I tap out, then they're just going to kill us. So I think we have to go to the end step. And we're just going to discard this. Okay, they're just making another Urza's Saga. Sure. I guess we get rid of Legacy's Allure. It's not a very alluring spell to have access to right now. We just need mana. We are a dress down deck, so we can take out the Sagas at some stage. We've got a Force of Will if they have something like a crop rotation that we're worried about, although they've already got all the lands they could possibly want in play, because these Urza Sagas are going to absolutely slaughter us. So make a guy from this. They do need another land drop to make sure this Saga actually gets to make all of its constructs next turn. But they might just turn this into a construct factory. Okay, there's a Wasteland. Alright, am I going to scoop this one up? I think we're going to fire in with a Brainstorm. I like the Swords to Plowshares, but this Mystic Sanctuary is not going to cut it, and we're just going to get run over. I think we can just go to the next game. We're very far behind. I really enjoy lands as a strategy into slow control decks as well. So our opponent's got some good stuff right there. I like the Force of Negation. I think that's a good way of dealing with Life from the Loam once and for all. Consigned Memory definitely has some text here, especially since we've seen the Spheres, which I really didn't want to have to play around. Seal of Cleansing feels like a useful thing to keep bringing back. Possibly these Consigns. We've also got these Surgicals, which are kind of handy too. Counterbalance is a fine way of stopping some of their bits and pieces. So the Consign can stop the triggers as well on some of their like Saga type things. Do I think we're going to have enough islands to be using this Thwart? Probably not. I don't know if this game is going to be about just going infinitely with Thwart. Legacy's Allure is pretty bad here. Planar Disruption can sometimes stop a Marit Lage if we make them make it on a weird timing. Porphyry Nodes is a nice way of cleaning up all of their Urza Saga. Soul Snare answers Marit Lage. Graveyard Hate is good. A little bit of pressure is good. Terminus can answer Marit Lage, but is a little tricky to set up. It is another way of dealing with all of these tokens, though. This isn't really like a creature-heavy matchup, so I think we're going to Get rid of those. We're probably going to shave a couple of Force of Wills here, replace them with Force of Negations. Do we just get rid of all the Force of Wills and rely on the Consign to Memories to deal with the spheres? Do we actually have a way of blowing up a sphere once it's in play? Not really. Huh. It's just a Seal of Cleansing, isn't it? Alright, I guess that'll have to be enough. Sure, I'll keep this one. I don't really want to get Wastelanded very much here. I also don't want to get Urza's Saga'd. If we just go and get an island here. Kind of like playing this and naming Urza's Saga. Our opponent's deck is one you can run out of win conditions. They have effectively a maximum of 8 win conditions usually. We do have our own Urza's Saga though. Are we supposed to name the Urza's Saga? Or are we supposed to name Thespian Stage to make sure they can never make one that will stick around forever? Alright, we're going to go for the Thespian Stage here and hold on to the fact that we might still be able to use our own Urza's Sagas. We've got a Brainstorm and a Fetch Land next turn, which is a pretty good play. I don't want to see them ramp out a sphere in this turn. Right, an Exploration, that's fine. There is a Thespian Stage. By getting this down early, they could get a Thespian Stage and then copy something else, so it's not called Thespian Stage, and that can jam us up a little bit. Are we always playing this out, or are we going to play Urza's Saga if we draw one? Let's Brainstorm first, and then we can decide. Okay, I don't think we're doing Replenish stuff right now, and we're not doing Witness the Future stuff either, so these two can go back for now. We just keep securing our land drops. I think we'll go and get basic planes here, because we have a second blue for Counterbalance tucked away already. This means it's going to be harder for us to get the Mystic Sanctuary online, but given the nature of this matchup, I think we just need to play it relatively safe. I don't know if they're going to be playing Force of Negation, something we need to be a little bit aware of. Sphere Resistance, Wasteland, it's going to be one of those two, I would imagine, because the other two aren't very helpful. They chose Sphere of Resistance. They got a land, it's a good land, and now we're going to see the Sphere Resistance come down, I would imagine. Alright, a Thespian Stage number 2. Here comes the Sphere. I do like Sphere Resistance just as a Magic the Gathering card. I think it's really interesting. It's like such a simple basic effect, and it's obviously a symmetrical effect as well. But how symmetrical is it really is the question. Okay, let's go and get ourselves another basic island here. It's Seal of Cleansing time. Would I like to take out their Urza's Saga or their Sphere of Resistance? Honestly, it's probably their Urza's Saga here. If we can find the Hall of Heliods, it's probably not going to stick around very long in play, but we can put the Seal of Cleansing on top just to answer some stuff later on. We have Marit Lage covered in so many ways right now, because they can't make the Marit Lage because of our Pithing Needle, and they can't attack with the Marit Lage because we can exile it. Choke. Yeah, that's a good one, isn't it? Not for us, but there we go. Kind of wish I didn't take out this Urza's Saga right now. Well, we're going to play our Meticulous Archive. I don't think we need another Source to Plowshares. This is going to be very hard to break out of this, I think, because we need to draw the Hall of Heliod. We only have this one plains. All of our other lands will come in taps aside from the Hall of Heliods. Or sorry, will not untap. So we get one use out of our lands to try and make a second choke. I really like what you're doing over there, opponent. Like, just as a thing, because I really like doing this to people. But it's horrible being on the other side of it. But at least we got rid of their threats. We got time to draw out of this. We're not under any pressure. If we can draw a Surgical Extraction and just hit these Urza's Sagas, we might just win on the spot. It's kind of an interesting proposition, isn't it? Alright, we on the manual tick down. Sure. We have an answer for it in play. I've made many a 30 mana 2020 in my time with Dark Depths, as I'm sure you can imagine. Wasteland. This is very good to stop our Hall of Helios Generosity. Consign to Memory. Doesn't do anything. Removing a counter from the Dark Depths. They might have an answer to both of these, but they're just in a position where they can happily tick this down because they're not under any pressure and we are struggling a little bit. Urza's Saga is not the one we want to see here. Consign to Memory, that's pretty bad too. I'm kind of rooting for my opponent to hit us with a 30 mana 2020 if I'm being honest. It doesn't happen that often. Yep, they're using their Ancient Tomb so they can get 3 tick downs this turn. So they can actually wake their Marit Lage up next turn. I don't know why they would when they have the Urza's Saga running, so they're probably just going to strip a counter off of it. Or 2 counters off of it, but then just make the Urza's Saga. What are we getting rid of here? Probably the Shark Typhoon. There's no way they go for Marit Lage with the answer. Right, they're ticking down the Dark Depths, but they've also made a construct. And I will discard a Shark Typhoon. We don't have any response to what our opponent's doing. We at least can answer a construct this turn if we want to. They're probably going to go get in Expedition Map, so they can just get another... Oh no, they're just going for the Lava Spur Boots. They are making the Marit Lage. Understood. So this gives Ward 1. So we have to source the Plowshares this. Well, we can't source Plowshares actually because of the ward covers this, and then the Sphere Resistance covers this. Yeah, I forgot how many lock pieces our opponent had. We were not even in those games. All right, let's go to round number 2 and see if we can get something that's going to be a bit less of a polarized matchup. Island Ponder. Yep, I will keep that one. We've got the Counterbalance. We might be able to get that in as early as turn 2 and try and slow down what our opponent's up to. I like the Shark Typhoon. I like the Teferi. I will take both of these. Setting up Shark Typhoon plus Hall of Heliod's Generosity is something that brings me a great deal of joy, and it used to be a thing that was actually worth doing in Legacy. There was a brief while where there was the Shark Tail deck that I really liked. That was Staff the Storyteller and Shark Typhoon, and you just sort of loop them, and that was really cool. Let's go and get ourselves another basic island. Get Counterbalance down. If they daze this, then at least our Teferi is way more likely to resolve. And, you know, we might be able to put this back on top with a Hall of Heliod's Generosity, or a Replenish can jump it back into play at some point. Okay. Just Ancient Tomb. So this is probably a show and tell list. So no dazes can happen. It has to be a force if they want to interact with the Teferi. Let's get rid of this Tamiyo. Try and draw into some force magic. We did not draw into anything but land there. We're getting a little bit flooded. Tamiyo, at least that is not a thing that's going to mess us up. Like a show and tell. We can plus this. I think we will deal with this Tamiyo now. And play a fetch land. We can get Meticulous Archive with it. Or we can start Mystic Sanctuary and back things like Ponder. Which might be quite good. We'll see what our opponent does. And if we need to find a specific answer for it. In an emergency, we can Shark Typhoon here. But we don't really have anything worth drawing. So it's not really a great option for us. Please don't show and tell me right now, opponent. I'm asking nicely. Stock up. Okay. We could put the Shark Typhoon in. That'd be kind of an interesting one. I think the plan here is we go get the Meticulous Archive to draw a Ponder next turn. Or to draw it this turn is what's actually going to be the case. Let's put this Ponder on top. And then we'll just make a 1-1 and cantrip here. Man, I love Shark Typhoon. What a great card. We draw this Ponder. Our opponent has to get a cleanup. Let's begin with a Ponder here. Solar Lantern. This is an impulse, but it's only going to see 2 new cards. And it's going to cost us a whole bunch of our mana. I think we're just going to shuffle here. Okay, I would like to cast another Ponder, please. I like these cards quite a bit. Is there a way that we can draw them all? No. Interesting. If we can't get this Force of Will off this turn, I think we can put that 1 second down and we at least have the Shark Typhoon in play if they go for their combo. What land do we want? We have a Force of Will on top. We're going to want to shuffle it away. Are we going to want to put any of these on top with Hall of Heliod's Generosity? Not really. We're going to plus the Teferi. We'll attack for 1. I think I'll play out the Hall. Just gives our opponent more things to think about. They're probably unlikely to want to send it into our Teferi because they know their counters don't work. They're probably going to dig to try and find a Thoughtseize. Since they've shown us black mana, they must have it in there. Here it comes. Here is the Thoughtseize. I could cycle this, but I didn't really want to do that. Do they have a send here? So we've got hard cast Force of Will for next turn. Alright, they've got the land. Here comes a problem for us. There's nothing we can do about it. I guess we'll get one of our lands in for free. There is an Omniscience. How bad is it for us? We can bounce this out of play if we get a turn, but we might not get another turn. They might just Emrakul us. Stock up. Okay. So our plan is to bounce this after our opponent finds nothing and then hold up Force of Will. Thoughtseize. You can Thoughtseize me. And Atraxa. That's not the easiest thing in the world to beat, is it? Now we don't get to source Plowshares because they took the plow first. There is the Emrakul. Okay, I'll scoop to that. We're not beating Emrakul and Atraxa. Alright, this is another matchup that looks kind of tricky for what we're trying to do, which is unfortunate. What do I want for this one? More counter magic. We would like these things. The Lavinia can kind of stop them doing some stuff and protecting their kill, so I think that's worth it. Consign isn't really great. We can stop certain triggers. So let's say the Atraxa trigger, but then things are already going pretty badly. But we might be in a situation where this is the level of thing we need to do. We could play this Seal of Cleansing. I think that makes a lot of sense. We didn't see any red mana. Possibly a Triumph so we can actually pressure our opponent. Because if we give them infinite time, they will win the game. Doesn't seem like a good place for... where is it? The Legacy's Allure. That doesn't seem the best. Planar Disruption can deal with a Tamiyo. So can the Soul Snare. Sorry, not the Soul Snare, the Seam Rip. I don't think Soul Snare matters here. If their guy's in play, then we're just dead. Same with the Porphyry Nodes. We don't need a Soul Guide Lantern. These Swords to Plowshares certainly seem pretty weak, but we do obviously need to respect the Tamiyo. So I think this is 4 cards to respect the Tamiyo. I hate that that's a thing you have to do, but there it is. Do we need to be doing Witness the Future stuff? Maybe we don't need to be doing that. Because that's like a late game problem. Our problems are not late game problems, they're just other problems. Do we beat an Emrakul? Not really. We can bounce out of play with a Teferi, maybe. Like, I don't think we need the Terminuses. I would rather have pressure. Something that looks like this. What about Pithing Needle? Yeah, that's for the backside of Tamiyo. That makes sense. Dress Down can stop the ability of Atraxa working as well. So it's doing a similar thing to Consign. Not as exciting, but I guess it draws us a card as well. Alright, well, we'll try it like this. Okay, we've got a Force. We've got a Ponder. I don't think our mana base is going to be under too much duress here. But you can do a lot of things in the Diminish Shell. Having Tamiyo kind of just as a free roll. Just lets you have so many extra bits and pieces going on. I like the Brainstorm. I like making additional land drops. So next time we can Brainstorm and then Meticulous Archive away something. I'll leave the Brainstorm in my hand so we have more options of blue cards to pitch. We're probably just pitching a Shark Typhoon. We could also just play the Lavinia next turn and then it's going to be harder for them to ramp out their show and tell and it buys us another turn. Also means that their counter magic is just off, whereas ours is working. Yeah, I think I like getting the Lavinia in. This kind of demands an answer. You kind of use it or lose it, right? Alright, we're in. So show and tell can't be cast off of an Ancient Tomb or Lotus Petal this turn, so we know we're clear for another turn. They can still go Tamiyo, Brainstorm, and that's a whole other problem we have to face. Is our opponent playing Orcish Bowmasters? They might be. Do we attack here if they are playing Orcish Bowmasters? I guess we can't really afford to attack in case they have the Bowmasters. Do I want to cycle a Shark Typhoon? Maybe. Right, we're going to have the hardcast Force of Negation available. I really don't want to attack into a Bowmasters. This card is doing a lot of work for us. My Thoughtseize. Kind of tempted to Brainstorm and protect our hand here. Also, no Orcish Bowmasters available right there. Ooh, I like the Triumph of St. Catherine quite a lot here. So we put this one second down. And then we can end of turn Shark Typhoon just to draw into this one. So we can hide the Force of Negation. So we go Triumph plus the Force of Negation here. I can take a Shark Typhoon or a Seam Rip. Taking a Shark Typhoon here is actually a little bit awkward because it's one of our blue cards if we cycle this off. But we're definitely going to cycle it off and get the guy in. Although I guess we don't have to do that. Are they just going to steamroller us with a show and tell right now? They are indeed. We put in our Shark Typhoon, I suppose. If we had another blue card instead of this Seam Rip, then we'd have been in a position where you could cycle this and then counterspell it, but was not to be. They have an Omniscience. They can't cast non-creature spells that cost more than 3. But I don't know how many of those they even have in their deck at this point. Okay, the stock up just happened. So top card of our library is a Triumph of St. Catherine. Is that good enough? If I don't want it, I can shuffle it away, is actually the answer here, isn't it? So we'll crack in for 2. Maybe we get to make a big shark in a second. If they cast anything here, I guess we're Force of Negating it. A Brainstorm. No. Not today. We just can't risk them finding a creature they can put in. Do I want a Triumph right now? Or do I want... So this is 5. If I keep the Triumph on top, they're dead next turn if they don't rip. I think we need to put the Triumph in. Attack. So we have lethal next turn. Do I play this Meticulous Archive now? We're not really going to need to crack a fetch land anyway, are we? Let's just do this. Because this way we can find something that might be situationally good. And then decide if we want it or not with the fetch land. Whereas if we just crack the fetch land, then it is what it is. There's also more permanents in place and might be able to beat an Emrakul. Played a land, a Kraken, a red source. We didn't see that in game 1. So they're 3 colour plus Ancient Tombs. That's quite greedy for a mana base. Not that we get to punish that, but still. Right, goodbye. We still have lethal damage. They could have cast this Emrakul without this being in play. I think our opponent just misread what this card did. Because this says if a spell is cast without mana to pay it, counter it, which is obviously great under Omniscience. But this says can't be countered. This also says you can't play expensive non-creature spells. But this isn't a non-creature spell, it's a creature spell. We're not dead to this. Not immediately, anyway. If this attacks, we can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we have lethal on the crackback. So we need them to not find something this turn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Do you have a spell in hand or are you dead? A Tamiyo. So if we draw a plains or any sort of white source, we're fine here. We did not draw any sort of white source. So if we attack, they chum block here, they go to 1, and then we die. We were actually in this game more than I thought we were going to be. And then they kill us on the crackback. Unfortunate, but we managed to at least have a chance to win that game there. Which is unusual when your opponent's got an Omniscience, but we managed it. Alright, 0-2, let's go to round 3. Round 3, Island Ponder. We can find whatever pieces we need here. Given our hand already has one non-basic, we're probably just going to lead off on the non-basic, hold our fetch so we can go and get another non-basic so we can keep our white mana up if we need it. This also means that our Brainstorm can be better. I don't really want the Mystic Sanctuary. Put that on the bottom. So next turn, we'd have to draw the Pithing Needle, but we can Brainstorm it away. But then we're just going to be drawing these cards again. I do like having a Source Parasite. We already have a removal spell that we can kind of set up. So I'm going to go and shuffle this one. Okay, Force of Will. That covers us against some unfair stuff that decks can be doing in this format. A Underground Sea. That could be a whole selection of different things. Oh, hello again, Mystic Sanctuary. If I draw an Urza's Saga, am I playing it here? Maybe. I'm going to cast Brainstorm, I think. I don't really want this Mystic Sanctuary in hand. We want to get in before any sort of Bowmasters comes down and ruins our day. Don't really want this Witness the Future either. I kind of want this Terminus to be in our deck as well. So I guess we end up putting the Terminus back. And then we can just hold up here. I don't know if we're going to want to Terminus their stuff next turn, but it's an option that we have just by not pondering here. Brainstorm from our opponent is fine. This end of turn Brainstorm suggests that they have like a big turn they want to take next turn. So they could be a combo deck like Show and Tell. This is more of a sort of Show and Tell-y combo-y style pattern to do the Brainstorm in the end step like that. Or they could just be struggling in an interesting way. But if you're really struggling for lands, you want to cast it on your turn so that you see more cards before you risk Brainstorm locking yourself. So it's probably just, can we line up all the pieces to have like a turn that's going to put this game so far ahead for them that we're in trouble. That's the vibes I'm getting from it. Badlands, okay. Is this a Storm combo deck perhaps? A Lion's Eye Diamond. You got it. I think we hit the payoff here if they go for like a wheel. Chrome Mox, sure. Was that a gamble? So they're going to have 2 cards in hand. If it's Thoughtseize, they can't actually do anything else after this. It probably has to be some sort of Echo plan. All right, we're going to say no to the Echo. I'm going to get rid of this Witness the Future. We're not going to need to grind inevitably here. And then they have another one. I think that's fine. Okay, we've drawn another Force. That's okay. That gets one of their wheels out of circulation, which is a big deal for us. I'm going to go and get the Meticulous Archive at the end step, I think, and just have a little peek at the top of our deck here. Plains, we don't really need that. Just untap. Probably just play out this Urza's Saga. We're not doing anything else our turn. We may as well ponder. Find some more counter magic. I don't really want these cards. I'll take a land. And then we'll hold this up because we might want to Brainstorm to protect our hand if they're going for like counter magic. For hand disruption. Then we can protect our counter magic. Getting ahead of myself with my thoughts there. Our opponent's thinking a while. They're just going for a Surveil land. That doesn't mean they're not going off this turn. They could still be attempting to get us gone. We could make a 4/4 Angel next turn if we wanted to with this Brainstorm, putting this on top, but I don't think that's really worth our time. And we just grind this Saga value instead. Play out this... I guess we can play out this Tarn. And that allows us to get like a Brainstorm in maybe. If they try and do some hand disruption, we probably have to do the fetch down first. Oh, just cycling a Raffine's Tower. I don't see those very often. Certainly not in a Storm deck. There's normally just a couple of like Surveil lands. The red-green one and then the black-blue one, the Undersea Sewers, it's called. Okay, I don't think mana is our opponent's problem here. They've got lots of it. Scrubland. A Silence. Okay. Veil of Summer, you say. I will Brainstorm. I think we're almost certainly dead here. Is there any way that these cards matter? Probably not. Let's put these 2 back and we'll crack this. I don't think the dress down is going to make a difference either. Get an island. Unfortunately, they have 2 pieces of protection to go off with here. And we've given them +2 storm count. Usually getting the right amount of storm is not a problem for modern day epic storm decks because they just wheel so many times. But they must be able to win if they were protecting their silence like that. That silence could have just been a duress and just you fire it off. We have to counter it, otherwise we lose the game for sure in our eyes. Silence very good at stopping Consign to Memory as well. This is just going to be a pretty clean Beseech line. They can go Beseech, 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 and then just kill us with the Tendrils at the end. They never have to use the graveyard. Yeah, here's the second Beseech. And then they get rid of the Mox Opal. We're already at Lethal Storm here anyway. Yeah, they're just pointing at our face. Another matchup where I don't particularly like being the control deck. Let's have a think here. Signs of Memories seem good. Counterbalance seems good. Force of Negation is useful. Lavinia is useful. Seal of Cleansing isn't without text. Grafdigger's Cage is good. We don't really want these Swords to Plowshares. We don't want the Soul Snare or the Porphyry Nodes or the Terminuses. Although they might pivot into Goblins. I don't think Seam Rip is that useful, but it can maybe disrupt some of their stuff. We get rid of this Planar Disruption. Pithing Needle I don't think has enough targets here. Soulguide Lantern is rarely going to be a thing that actually matters. Let me just get rid of that one. And we get 2 more cards if we're keeping this configuration. If we're keeping this configuration, we could have the Surgical Extractions. We'd have the Triumph of St. Catherine, so we actually have a bit more pressure. But I think we have decent pressure when we're looking at trying to do, like, we've got Lavinia, which is an additional piece of pressure. We've got these 2 Eyes of Saga, which feel pretty solid. Shark Typhoon, we've got some threats there. We've also got the Stormchaser's Talent. That's probably enough threats. Although, like, Triumph may be better than an Entreat here. Although we can do this on our opponent's turn sometimes, which is kind of a big deal. No, I think we just want the Triumphs in as our threats. And then Hydroblast can hit exactly Burning Wish and Gamble, which is probably enough to see play here. We don't need the Witness the Future. I think the Witness the Future might be a bit of a trap, to be honest. Do I want some Surgical Extractions? There's a card that does something, but not necessarily the most amount of things. We don't want Legacy's Allure, even though it's blue, so that gets us a Surgical Extraction. Dress Down. These aren't really doing anything. They're just cantrips in blue. Let's turn one of those into a Surgical. If we turn this into a Seal in case they play stuff out. What is our blue count looking like is the next question. 28. That is plenty of blue cards. Okay, we're going to submit it like this. Our deck looks pretty weird after board here. But it's very much white spells out, blue spells in a matchup like this. This Mystic Sanctuary is not great for us. This is already a 6-card hand because of the Terminus, but it does have double force, which is something I would very much like to have. And this stops their wheels. Alright, I think we're keeping this one. I think Brian Cook recently put out a video, as I'm recording this, maybe came out yesterday, with this like 5-colour Storm build. I haven't actually watched the video yet, so I don't know all the ins and outs of it. But if you're trying to learn about Storm, there is no better place than Brian Cook's channel, The Epic Storm. I'll tell you that much. Like, I can't play Storm at all, but it is wonderful watching someone who knows what they're doing and seeing all these cool lines. Anyway, we have double force action. We can play a turn 2 Grafdigger's Cage to stop Echo of Eons. It doesn't stop the Beseech the Mirror, because Beseech the Mirror exiles, then you cast the card from exile. It's not casting it from your library. Right, no play from our opponent is good news. If I draw a white source, would I play Lavinia? I think we can probably ponder into a land here. We did indeed ponder into a land, so we kind of get to have it all here. We play this. We go and get a Tundra. We deploy this Grafdigger's Cage. The fact that we let off on Mystic Sanctuary kind of tells our opponent that our hand is rock solid and has a bunch of counters, because why would we keep this hand that doesn't do anything? Like, if we kept a hand that had like a Ponder for turn 1, that would make sense. But because we didn't do that, it kind of suggests that we already had the interaction in hand. We'd like to be able to get this Lavinia down and maybe draw a blue card to go with our force as well. Hexing Squelcher. Yeah, that can't be countered. But Lavinia does some interesting work here. We can't counter their spells, so I guess we are getting the boys in. Go Gadget Otter. We can still level this up and then just like cast these spells to get otters. Not ideal, but it's a thing we can do. It's a lot more tempting if we had a Shark Typhoon, which we could then get lots of things out of. I don't know how easy they're going to be able to handle this Lavinia. And as a Saga is a nice one as well. I'm not going to let them make this trade. I think this is doing more work than our counter magic would. Because our opponent's got things like Veil of Summer and Silence, but they don't get around the Lavinia. Because they can't play any of their zeros or their Echo of Eons here. And now we can start cranking this Saga. A Seal of Cleansing. That is not worth doing anything with here. We're just going to make some constructs and start beating down. I don't think we have anything to fetch off this Saga. But we can just make some friends. Maybe we need Plows in just for this Hexing Squelcher. Mox Opal is countered. Oh, I guess it's not countered actually, right? So all their zeros still work underneath this. It's just the echo that doesn't work. Get this going. The spells can't be countered, so Counterbalance looks a little bit mediocre here. No things to fetch because we already have our only thing to fetch. We go to attacks and we actually start cracking in for little bits of damage now. They need a 4th land before they can do any sort of tendrils shenanigans. It's just not a spell they can cast right now. But this blanks the second half of Lavinia, which is definitely irritating. We might be able to get into a spot. Oh no, we took out our dress downs, didn't we? Which could have handled this. Do we want the dress downs back in? Gamble. You got it. They discarded a silence. I don't think that's the one they wanted. Because their problem right now isn't their spells resolving. It's their spells being able to be cast. They might have just gone for a land. Because if they have 4 land, then they can cast most of the stuff in their deck outside of the Echo of Eons. So they can still do a Beseech Line and just kill us right now. Maybe I'm supposed to respect this a little bit more than we did. But we brought in the Hydroblast, which answer this and other stuff. So I think we gave this enough respect. Maybe we're supposed to have like 1 more plow in or keep the dress downs in, something along those lines. Just having a look at our sideboard. Maybe the Seal of Cleansing is better as like a dress down. Alright, this looks like a Beseech the Mirror. Yep, so this is uncounterable. It says Storm at the moment. Storm 2. So there are ways to go. Song of Creation line. Okay. Yep, that's pretty good. I like the Seal of Cleansing in our hand if our opponent can't win this turn. I guess we are an F6. So this means that our Consigned to Memories still work through this, as long as they're countering an ability, but we can't counter their spells. I'm certainly glad to see a Lorwyn card replacing the Spider-Punk that this deck was running before. Our opponent seems to have paused for quite a while. Alright, Burning Wish. We need to hold up the pretense of having a consign here. Tendrils of Agony in their hand. Storm count is 7. This is Storm count 8. So Tendrils is lethal. They just need to actually have the mana to cast it. So a couple of Dark Rituals and we're away here. Or just 1 Dark Ritual and we're away actually. There's the Dark Ritual. We know they have the Tendrils in hand. I mean, we know they have the mana. Okay, we can't really catch a break here. We are getting crushed in these. Let's go to round number 4. We've got Force of Will. We can put a Terminus on top. That's some good spread of answers that we can use there. Are they going to be a Control Yorion strategy or are they going to be a Death and Taxes strategy? Prismatic Vista doesn't necessarily tell us which of those 2 strategies our opponent is on. I guess we start off with this one because then we can go and fetch an island off of this one if that's what we need to do. And it's more like our opponent is Death and Taxes. That's the more common Yorion build. And also Prismatic Vista is more likely to be in that deck. Alright, that does feel like what we're doing here. We've got some removal that we can leverage. I don't really want to run headlong into Wastelands and stuff, but I don't necessarily think we have much of a choice either. Because we want to get our Mystic Sanctuary working because we're going to need that sort of value. A removal spell. I would like a removal spell, please. Let's go for this Soul Snare. I should have called it Seal of something, right? Just like the seals of whatever's blowing stuff up. It's going to be a Failure or a Bowmaster. It's a Failure. So they can attack and they can blink this and then we can blow it up in response. We can Force of Will something scary here, like an Overlord. Alternatively, we can just Brainstorm, put the Terminus on top and just wipe their board and get ready to do it again soon with the Mystic Sanctuary. Okay, a Caracas. That doesn't help us. Okay, they tapped out that. Do I want them to have a Recruiter here? Not particularly. Let's get rid of this Witness the Future. I think it's probably the weakest card in our hand. You attacking with this Failure? I don't think you should. Nah, I didn't fancy it. There's no need to do this right now. A Brainstorm. Always like a little bit of Brainstorm action. Source Plowshares, obviously excellent in the matchup. Don't particularly want this Sanctuary right now. We can put the Terminus on top. And then use it as a removal spell next turn. Could have taken that opportunity to try and plow the Failure. I think just having this Terminus on top makes a lot of sense. A Recruiter of the Guard, okay. They're not leaving up their Caracas, which is an interesting choice. An Orcish Bowmaster, as you say. Are they going to attack and blink this Recruiter of the Guard? They are. So not really valuing this Failure. Do I need them getting another card here? We go Shields down on the Terminus. Now we're going to get this Brainstorm going before our opponent can untap with his Bowmasters. Legacy's Allure is exactly in here for Bowmaster specifically, so that's nice to know. I kind of want all of these cards, which means... But we need to crack this now is the problem. So I guess we just put the Terminus in the deck so it's there somewhere for later. Do I want this Hall of Heliod's Generosity right now? It allows us to recur this, which is quite nice. Maybe we just get rid of the Ponder. Let's exile this Failure. They could have left their Caracas up so we couldn't make this play. Right, you can destroy one of my lands. They get to tutor something else. They might just go and get another Bowmasters here. I wouldn't hate that if I were them, just max out on Bowmasters. It's kind of where you want to be versus control decks like ours. Now, we're not drawing a million cards to that deck, but it's still going to be good against us. And it's multiple bodies, so it doesn't get cleanly swept up either. Another failure. Okay, makes sense as well. Dress down, you say. Okay, let's go for Legacy's Allure and get this going. We can steal a Bowmasters quite easily with this. Even if they blink it, it doesn't really matter. We can dress down at some point soon as well. I don't want to see more land destruction from our opponent. That would be unfortunate. I'll play out our land and I'll pass. So we can recur this Soul Snare over and over again. It's kind of slow, but if that's what we need to do, we can do it. We can take one from this Recruiter. It's going to tick up. Come in to play tap land. Not my favourite, but I think we are playing it still. Just pass a turn. They still have this dress down. This Caracas that we need to be aware of. We can steal this Recruiter if we want to. Let's go to the beginning of combat. I'm okay to cycle this dress down, I think. Just to stop them getting some value here. We could also just hit into a Terminus, which isn't the most exciting, but it does force them to bounce here. If they're flashing a Bowmasters here, it won't do anything because the dress down is in play. So we always get this card draw without having to worry about it. Another land. Not the one I wanted. I could take this Recruiter of the Guard and just put it underneath the Failure. I don't really want to do that. I'd rather save this for the Bowmasters if possible. A Lion's Sash. Do we care about that? We could just steal it right now and then just start shredding their graveyard. It's an interesting prospect, isn't it? I don't think we're doing that though. We can make a pretty large Shark Typhoon to get in the way of the Failure. We can also just steal their Failure, but then they just bounce with Caracas. Terminus. Yes, I'll reveal this Terminus. I will play this Terminus. I assume the Caracas is getting involved here. We could steal this, but it's still going to go back to hand because it's still going to be the same target. But we clean up a couple of bodies. Right, they're going to exile my thing first. I'll deploy a Scalding Tarn. And I guess we're going into the Shark Typhoon zone quite soon. A Stoneforge Mystic. You got it. Pre-war formalware. But if we're going to Swords of Plowshare, this will Terminus it. Doesn't make the most amount of sense. Meteor Sword. Got it. Let's cycle this. That's first, actually. 1, 2, 3. So we can go and get any card we want on top of our library here. We can go and put this Terminus on top and just answer this quite cleanly. We'll lose our Shark if we cycle it like this, though. We could just put this on top. Choose a Brainstorm. And cycle this one. Would you like to Bowmasters? Because the Legacy's Allure. We'll just steal it. Yeah, I didn't think so. Should I put a count on this? I'd like to cast a Brainstorm, please. I like these cards. Let's play out an Urza's Saga here. Alright, Teferi, you can come down, and then they have a choice to make. If you want to flash anything in, you kind of have to do it now. A Failure, you say. Okay. We don't want this Stoneforge Mystic to do its thing. I don't really want to bounce it because then they get value. So I think we are ploughing this. And then we can steal the Failure if we really want to. Let's see if they just tap the Caracas here. Because then we can just steal this Failure. And they just won't have a Failure at all. Oh, they just let us draw the card. That is a bit of a shocker to me. If you Caracas that, we don't get to draw the card off our Teferi then. They can obviously Orcish Bowmasters and finish off our Teferi, but there's cantrips for us. That's huge. And now we're going to start jamming some big boys. We can block off these future Stoneforge Mystics with a Pithing Needle, or we can block off the Caracas to stop them being able to save their Failure. I think we're in a pretty good spot, all things told. Teferi also makes it good for our cantrips because we can just cast them whenever. Alright, you can Bowmasters and ping down my Teferi. A Stoneforge Mystic. What is this one going to get? Pre-war formalware. Seems good. Our opponent's ability to grind is probably better than ours, which is not really where you want to be as a control deck. Brainstorm, and then this is ticking up as well. Let's take the Bowmasters. If they have another Bowmaster, so be it. I'm going to cast this Ponder first in case they want to flash in a Bowmaster. We can Brainstorm over the top. Ponder, Stormchaser's Talent. These aren't the ones we need, are they? Another Ponder. Okay. Show me answer. Okay. I don't hate that for us. What order do we want these? We want the Terminus for next turn. We play out an Island Jet this turn. I don't think we have. So Counterbalance, Terminus, Island. And we play out our Island. So this gives us enough to wipe the board, but then also get stuck in with the construct. That seems reasonable to me. You can play that Heliod. They are indeed. Okay. We know 2 of the cards in their hand. How much extra value do I want to get here? Exile up to 1 target permanent. Return under its owner's control. That's less good because then they get this one back, don't they? We can see what they target here. They probably just target the Bowmaster so they can get it back. Okay, so we probably want to go and Brainstorm here. Put these 2 back. Can sweep up these guys. They might put a Meteor Sword in and blow something up. Probably our Urza's Saga. So we can't make a guy. Oh, they're going for the Hall of Heliod's Generosity. Oh, Float a Mana. So we get to run our course with the Urza's Saga now. I assume they're going to bounce the Heliod. Yep. The threats are just so much better than the answers, which makes it very difficult to be what we're trying to be here. And then I will make a construct. Behold the might of my powerful 1/1. So now they can pre-war Formal Wear, get back this Recruiter. And that's quite a good turn for our opponent, even though we did cast a Wrath against their creature deck. Just because all their creatures do so many things. What fresh hell are we expecting? Another Bowmasters, I imagine? Canoptek Scarab Swarm. Exiles my graveyard, makes them a bunch of guys. Okay. We know we're drawing Counterbalance here. Make another friend. We need all the friends we can get. We could just get the Soul Lantern. This doesn't exile our stuff, but it does draw us a card, which might just be good enough. Let's exile. It's a Wasteland. It's fine here. Opponent's going to get so many guys from this. Do I want to trade here? I think I'm okay trying to trade in. I don't think they will take this trade. They might do, but it's unlikely. Oh wow, they're going for it here. I think we're going to draw a card off of this and hope that we hit a thing to counter this Scarab Swarm. Oh my god. This would have been really good if we could have just got through another turn. Okay, maybe we have a 4-drop on top of our library. If we have just played out the Counterbalance instead of drawing a card, we would have just naturally countered it with a Scarab Swarm. I think it's right to try and hit the Force of Will. Yikes. This deck is giving me some ideas for other things we could do, though. Shadowy Backstreet. Alright, how many 4-drops do we have in our deck? A Scalding Tarn is not one of them. Right, we made the right play, but it didn't end up working out for us in terms of this Replenish. So what is this for each land or artifact? It's a lot of little guys. Yikes. Alright, we can... These all have flying, don't they? So I guess we're attacking. They get to hit us for 9, 10, 11. That's our entire life total. Huh. I guess we need to crack this for Meticulous Archive. Oh no, we didn't have Meticulous Archive anymore. No, we're just stone cold dead if our opponent sees a line here. They have 2 equipments. If they equip either of them, we die. Alright. Not great there. We do get some sideboard games in though, and this is one where you probably don't need the blue things and we can just have more interaction with our opponent, although do we even have that much interaction we want to? Consigns are very good. I will certainly take those. Triumph is like a creature that can pressure them and do some cool stuff. Maybe we want this. Sea of Cleansing stops them blinking stuff. Just want another Counterbalance. Instead of Force of Will, just have this Counterbalance lock going. They do some stuff with Soul Lantern, and this does cantrip, so I think we're keeping it, and this is probably what we're running with. A great time for Porphyry Nodes to do its thing. Pithing Needle is interesting. I like having Ponder to just find the things we require. As a Saga seems pretty useful here. And a Typhoon, yeah, this seems all good. You can sort of meet them at their own game with this as a Saga. Aether Vial, I guess we know what we're going to Pithing Needle here. Cut out our opponent's mana advantage. This is also a key part of their late game. They have this and Caracas to keep doing Yorion crimes. But they won't be able to do that if we're shutting off. They can still put counters on it. They just can't activate it until they get rid of this Pithing Needle. They definitely have answers with Pithing Needle in their deck. Wasteland, goodbye as a Saga, I guess. But that means they're not committing to the board, so we get more time to hopefully just make some land drops. I think we're just going to play out this island for now. We don't need to expose our Tundra just yet until we want to cast a white spell. The other option was to name something else with this and then bounce the Aether Vial. If they cast a like Stoneforge Mystic this turn, we can dress it down so it never gets to shoot or anything. Oh, they didn't have another land there. It's not the one you wanted for their opponent, was it? Get Stormchaser's talent in and start attacking our opponent. We don't need to Brainstorm now. We hit our land drop anyway. We can just hold back this dress down so we can stop a like value creature coming down. I'm not going to cycle this Shark Typhoon for no value. I don't think we need to do that just yet. It's the sort of thing you do when you're missing land drops. And we hit our first few. And we hit another one. I would like to Brainstorm, please. This will grow our little otter friend. A Legacy's Allure is an interesting one to get down. Just put these 2 back. Save this for the Meticulous Archive, I think. This means we are tapped out of the dress down right now. But I think we need to capitalize on our opponent missing stuff. Okay, they do have the Stoneforge. That is annoying for us. We can just bounce this out of play. Not the best one to bounce out of play because they get the advantage of getting another card out of their deck. Meteor Sword. Do I want a Meticulous Archive or do I want a Ponder here? I think I want another... Oh, I think I want a Ponder. We can steal this Stoneforge Mystic if that's what we're worried about as well. Cast a Ponder. Okay, I like all these cards. We'll bury the Dress down, and then we'll put the Plow into our hand. Plow this creature. The Otter gets in for a decent chunk. Disruptor Flute. Sure, they can name Legacy's Allure, but like, whatever. They could name Stormchaser's Talent if they're worried about us just getting back Source to Plowshares, which I think is probably what you name here. Yep, they've named the Talent. That makes sense to me. We don't need to play anything else out here. Let's go to our turn. Put a counter on the thing there. We've got a hard counter spell. We can also cycle our friend as well. This Pithing Needle has done quite a bit of heavy lifting. Witchblessed Meadow, tapped or untapped? Untapped. Skyclave Apparition. Let's dress down in response, shall we? We don't need to steal this now. Opponent also hasn't been making black mana sources either. Witness the Future. Is that really where I want to be here? It's a sorcery, which is also kind of rubbish. Then we're just going to hold up this Thwart / Shark Typhoon. My opponent does have a lot of cards in hand because they've not been playing very much out. 3 mana. What are we going for? Recruiter of the Guard. I don't really want to bounce 3 islands. That's a late game thing. So we also grow our Otter so they can't really block without losing their guy. We could just steal this and start cracking in for more damages. I might honestly be the play here. This is a sorcery, but I will still fire it off. What do we want here? Put a Saga, Brainstorm and a Ponder in. And I guess it's fine, isn't it? Which of these do I like? Consign to Memory, probably. This one out. This allows us to crack in for 4 this turn. We've got Dress Down for creatures. And we can also consign their abilities. That's quite a lot of action we have going there. Just need to close this gap. We're pretty close to cycling this for a big boy. A Skyclave Apparition. Would I like to dress down this or consign to memory it? I think I like the dress down here. Who doesn't like drawing more cards? The Ponder. That's fine. They might be in chump block with Skyclave Apparition mode soon. Terminus. No. I don't really want to Terminus when we're the aggro right now. Let's Ponder and grow our little Otter token. I don't want any of these. Our land is fine. That puts cards on top of our library if we want them. Technical creatures. We can also just hard cast Terminus at this stage of the game. Right, trading into our Otter. Sure. Taking 2. We can make lethal damage off the Shark Typhoon and then bounce a blocker next turn. And then we have to try and win a game in like 5 minutes. But at least we're looking to be putting a game on the board. They didn't put the Urine in hand. Let's crack this. Let's get a Mystic Sanctuary. We can put the Thwart on top now. We've kind of entered that sort of looping thwart mode of the game. Make some lethal damage. A failure. Sure. That's fine by me. Like I said, we have a Teferi to bounce us out of the way. We don't need to Entreat the Angels. Okay. White, blue, blue. Let's get Teferi in. Let's bounce this. They can't cast any spells because of our Teferi. And then we just get to crack in for lethal. Yeah. We did the controlling thing and it worked. Let's see if we can do it again, shall we? We probably need Triumphs though because we don't have the longest amount of time left. Maybe Soulguard Lantern goes. Entreat is another win condition, so we probably need to keep that. Planar Disruption is fine. Maybe it's the Witness of Future. We're not really doing a long game where that works. I don't really want to get Wasteland with this hand. I think we have to mulligan it. Alright, Porphyry Nodes. I'll keep that one. And we have a bunch of sweet white cards here. I think the Seam Rip. Did we get rid of the Seam Rip? Oh, I wish this was a 7. We get rid of the Brainstorm and just kill all their stuff. And then try and work out a way of winning. Because our aim of the game is to not lose the game. Ah, why are you this early in our life? Let's get some Meticulous Archive in while we can. Just down as a good card. If we get Wastelanded, I'm not very happy about that, but we can still, answer bits and pieces that they put into play. We need to be very aware of our clocks. We're going to be F6ing our opponent's turns where possible. A White Orchid Phantom. Sure. Yes, I will have lanes, please. Let's crack this. Go and get this island. Cast a Ponder. That is a win condition, but it's kind of slow. We need more lands. Okay, shuffle. Right, moving on. I don't think we need to play out the Porphyry Nodes just yet. We can play that next turn. A Stoneforge Mystic. This might be one we just have to hit with a Source to Plowshares. Let's see what they get. If they get pre-war Formaware, it's kind of annoying playing out the Porphyry Nodes. But they're not really under the clock the same way we are, because we've taken more time than they have. I wouldn't be surprised to see them go for the slower option. Meteor Sword, okay. And then we're just going to plow this guy. And we get to untap Urza's Saga into Porphyry Nodes. This will answer their White Orchid Phantom next turn. And it stops them deploying a creature this turn as well. which gives us some breathing room to start getting our engines running with this Urza Saga. A wasteland, okay. No engines running. Recruiter of the Guards. They're just playing right into this. I see. An Orcish Bowmasters, you say? That's lots of bodies. If we want to, we can hit this White Orchid Phantom by ploughing this, but I think it's fine just to let this go. Alright, we'll brainstorm while we can before the nasty Bowmasters comes down and ruins our day. Replenish is something for later on, isn't it? I would like this Triumph of St. Catherine in play. We can always seam rip. No, we can only do things our opponent controls. And we bury this one and this one. And play this out. And then they now have a bunch of little bodies. But then when our Triumph of St. Catherine dies, it'll shuffle back in. And that's also fine. But we need to win the game. We have 3.5 minutes left on our clock. So we are going to be taking an aggressive posture wherever possible. They might just wait for this to kill off the White Orchid Phantom. And as soon as the White Orchid Phantom goes, the Porphyry Nodes goes, and then our Triumph can just stay without getting killed by the nodes. Now, you have a flash threat. You don't need to actually deploy anything until this is finished killing your guy. Overlord of the Baelmerk is not a guy. I see. What are they going to get here? Recruiter of the Guard back again? Yes, okay. Which can go and get them a Solitude, but we can consign the Recruiter trigger. We're not going to crack this until after we've drawn our card. They are just playing out into it. Interesting. Let's get this Triumph of St. Catherine down. I'll crack this now so that there's no weird windows for us. And we're just going to go and get this island and move on. Technically, we might be able to win this one. Stormchaser's talent maybe provides us with something that can keep us out. We can consign our own trigger. A Recruiter of the Guard. I will consign this trigger. I don't hate our spot here. Losing to our own Porphyry Nodes might be quite funny though. Because they can put everything under the bus if they want to. Let's cast this first so they can't just put everything underneath it. We still have a guy that we can sacrifice. Keep out land. Then we need to plow or seam rip anything here. We can do it next turn. Maybe push some more damages. But we're going to lose our Triumph and put it into the top cards of our library. And hopefully we can find it again soon and beat down. Witch Enchanter. What are you going to blow up here? Is it the nodes? Stormchaser's talent. Yeah, that makes sense. Sure, we take 2 from this. This means that we're not losing our Triumph this turn. The Overlord is something we'll worry about later. We can plow it when we want to. We only have one choice of creature to hit there, and it's our own, sadly. Let's go to attacks. Under the bus we go. This plow is almost certainly being saved for the Overlord, but we'll see if something changes. We can deploy the Pithing Needle to shut something down, but we'd like to see what we're shutting down first. It's quite likely just to be this Caracas. They can't keep looping the Yorion, but we'll see. A Scarclave Apparition. This can hit our Porphyry Nodes as the only thing it can hit. Okay. A White Orchid Phantom. Okay. I'm going to get another island out of our deck. It might just be trying to stall enough to win the game. This is white-white. We don't have white-white, so we say no to this one. A very timely destruction of our land there from our opponent. Void Mystic. Yep, I hate that one, but it is what it is. Free or formal wear. Yep, that's pretty good. Get a whole bunch of scary things like Orcish Bowmasters. And White Orchid Phantom, probably not the most, but they have enough first strike damage that that's going to blow us out. Alright, they've just gone for the Bowmasters. This is still pretty large. This loses its counter. We get rid of this guy. We can't allow the Overlord to stick around. That card is too strong. Let's play this Pithing Needle. We'll name Stoneforge Mystic so they can't get easy access to their super scary one. Let's see what they trade in for this. I just don't think we have enough time to get through all of our opponent's board. Block him with a Stoneforge. No. Play this to put a Source of Plowshares on top of our library. Pass the turn. We're kind of trying to hold the seam rip. So if we end up in a situation where we need to get rid of a blocker to push damage. I would like to just have like an extra few minutes to see how this one pans out. Okay, Overlord of the Baelmerk. I think our opponent is just pulling ahead now. The Canoptek Scarab Swarm is pretty scary. That's so many bodies. Yeah, I simply don't think we have time to try and win this one. Okay, they get rid of our Pithing Needle, which turns back on their Stoneforge Mystic. Crack in for a bunch. No, they're not even attacking. They're just going to clock us out here. GG's. Yeah, we don't have time. I think it's interesting to see what we would have been able to do here. I think this game was actually quite close, but unfortunately we don't get to see it to its conclusion because we're a little bit slower than our opponent, but not by a lot, only 30 seconds. That's not bad going for a grindy, slow control like this. Unfortunately, that means we played 4 rounds and won a single game, which is not really where you want to be. Let's see if we can avoid the 0-5. I think we got 0-5 last time we played Miracles as well, so let's see if we can dodge it. Well, There are some flaws with our hand. I think we have to mulligan this one. We only have one land. It's very easily wastelandable. If this is a creature matchup, it's all good. I think I just want something a little bit more stable. This is more stable, and I will keep it. Shark Typhoon is probably a later problem. A later thing we want. Sure. That is a Tiger. And an Ignoble Hierarch. I don't see those every day. Certainly not out of a Tiger deck. This could be like Goblin Food Chain. Let's go and get ourselves a basic island here. And ponder looking for a basic plains. Any order and shuffle this one. Okay, so we could have got a Tundra there and just been 100% dead. But because we've got another cantrip, I think if we just had only the ponder, I'd be tempted to get the Tundra and just take our chances. But we get to see 7 cards between the ponder and the brainstorm to look for the second lands. So I think it's worth doing that way. Ancient Tomb. Start your engines. How squad heavy? Do I want to deal with this? Not really. Get rid of this one. A Goblin Lackey. You got it. Be a good turn to draw that white source. Let's brainstorm. We found the white source. This card and this card look bad to me. Go and get ourselves a basic plains. And now we're just A-okay. Let's get rid of this Lackey and move on. There might be some food chain in our future. Hexing Squelcher. Witness the future. How did you come back? We didn't want you last time. I guess we're just going to pass it over for now. We don't really want to like put our pacifism type card on this. That doesn't end well for us. Because they still have the abilities, which is the actual main part of that card. They've got 2 cards in hand. Food Chain. You got it. If they attack with a Squelcher, we can kill it with the Exotic Trigger on the stack. We still take 2, but they only gain 2. This doesn't target enchantments. A Scalding Tarn. Let's go and get ourselves another blue source, I think. I can bounce this food chain and kind of keep them at bay, but this just immediately dies next turn. I think I'm just going to try and witness the future. Let's put back in Force of Will, Plow, and Ponder. I very much am interested in this Force of Will. I'll put that in my hand so they can't just do some sort of payoff. Because they can make infinite mana if they've got a squee. But if they don't have a thing they can resolve off of that infinite mana, that's fine by me. A Fury. I don't really want to play against this. Although we can just Planar Disruption it, and that's also fine. Getting in for 1 with the Hierarch. Sure. Say no to this. They can still sacrifice this for a bunch of mana with Food Chain. A Mystic Sanctuary. It comes in tapped. Is that where I want to be here? I don't think so. I don't think we need to play this out right now. We just hold up this Plow. Save it for something a little bit more impactful than an Ignoble Hierarch. If they're just pecking away for 1 damage a turn, we'll eventually do something that stops that from happening. A Broadside Bombardiers. I'm not going to counterspell this, but I will source to Plowshare it. Get out of here. If we wait till they attack and get the Exotic Trigger, then they can throw the Fury at us. I don't really want that. Okay, kind of punished for not playing out the Sanctuary now. Okay, I guess we'll play out the Sanctuary, and then next turn we can cycle this Shark Typhoon. The Ignoble Hierarch beats will continue until morale improves. But if we can just get this Shark Typhoon in front of it. Yeah, I'll reveal the Terminus. And then we'll just sit back. I don't think I want to make a 1-1. I'd rather make a 2-2. 6 mana. Muxus. Hell no. Get out of here, Muxus. That card is too scary. I'm not going to Terminus this empty board. I'm just going to pass and try and cycle the Shark Typhoon. We can cycle it for 1 if we need like an emergency plow or something. I love Food Chain Goblins. I love Food Chain in general. That's one of my paper decks is Food Chain. Alright, Force of Will is a good step. Counterbalance, also a pretty good step. I think we're going to leave this Counterbalance in our hand, so we have the guaranteed Force of Will for now. Because there are 2 card combinations that immediately kill us with our opponent's Food Chain. Cavern of Souls. Okay. Let's brainstorm here. Then we put the Terminus on top, and then... You know, we can't do anything with this Entreat, can we? Let's go Terminus and Entreat still, though. And then we can get this Hall of Heliod's Generosity ticking along. We can't counter their stuff anyway. If they're goblins, at least. So we're just going to hold back like this. Let's pop out our graveyard. We can just start chaining these Shark Typhoons and trying to clock our opponent quicker. I think that's a reasonable way to take this game. Alright. Is this Big Daddy Muxus? Certainly looks like an uncounterable Big Daddy Muxus. Is this just dead right now? We take 2. And then we take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that is lethal. Yep. Doesn't matter that the Terminus is 2 cards down. This is just lethal if our opponent wants it. What are you casting for red here? Like, your stuff's uncounterable anyway, so rest in peace is us, I guess. I think this design would have been more interesting if it was spells you control have ward pay 2 life as well. That'd just be an interesting bit of symmetry there where you can still counter stuff. It just comes at more of a cost. Right, so they attack with everything and then they sacrifice all their goblins. We die because this allows them to sacrifice them to drain 1. This is 3 damage off of this guy and then all the goblins. Uncounterable goblins is not very nice. Oh, they didn't just kill us. What? I was F6 because I assumed we were dead. Okay. Let's cast the Seam Rip. Let's see if you want to do anything about this. Yeah, they're just going to combo us and kill us now. Yeah, that's fine. We're dead. Let's just wait to see what we target anyway, out of curiosity. But that game, we just can't beat the Cavern of Souls, which is somewhat worrying. I guess we probably need more threats. The Consigned Memory helps us beat Muxus specifically. Hydroblast looks very good here. And that's about it. This isn't a Solgar Lantern matchup, so that can come out. Pithing Needle can stop the guy that makes all the things. You know what I mean. The Seam Rips are fine. The Porphyry Nodes is good. The removal spells are good. Teferi is kind of weak compared to the other ones, so maybe that's what's coming out here. This Entreat the Angels is not really doing it for us, and I don't think Witness the Future is the way to be. We get one more cut here. Is it going to be Counterbalance? It might be Counterbalance. It could just be one Force of Will. Probably the Counterbalance, so. We could even take out this Counterbalance and add in a Shadow Spear, just so we can try and race them if it's like an aggro side of things. No, I think we've got the Triumphs in to do that job. Oh, we want the Seal of Cleansing in, actually, don't we? Please don't put the Seal of Cleansing in. Please. No, we didn't get the Seal of Cleansing in for the... Alright, this hand is at least playable. I think we are playing on basics here. Or not. We didn't see any Wastelands, and our opponent is running 3 colours plus Ancient Tomb. I don't think there's Wastelands in their deck. And I'm going to play as if that is the case. There might be Chokes, which is a different problem that we've already faced today that I didn't like very much. Let's get this Stormchaser's talent down. An Ancient Tomb into Chalice. I guess. Let's ponder. Show me a removal spell. I'll take another Brainstorm. I'll crack this. Going to get another Tundra. Deploy a Soul Snare ahead of any potential additional chalices they have. It also allows us to beat for 3 when they're underneath the Ancient Tomb, dealing them damage. Howl Squad Heavy, sure. So we're going to take 1 damage from their little friend. Our Otter not looking so hot as a blocker right now. Just going to get gobbled up by this. We can trade with a token, but that doesn't seem great. I could make a 1-1 Shark, or I could just Brainstorm here. I could Brainstorm in our opponent's turn to have a bigger blocker. Or I could try and pressure now and see what happens. I think we're going to try and Brainstorm and see if we can get a bigger blocker. I doubt they attack with this, so we can just block their 1-1 Goblin and grow our Otter to survive. And that's pretty reasonable. They're going to 11. Lucky is fine. Carpet of Flowers is pretty good, but they've almost played their whole hand out at this point. Again, another little guy. What are they coming in with? Everything. I'll block here. I'll cast a Brainstorm to grow my guy. Just take this out. I'm not going to burn this Soul Snare on a 1-1 token. This is nearly a Goblin's Cradle, or whatever you want to call it. I think max speed is 4. Let's draw a Ponder. Let's cast a Ponder. I like lands and I like Ponder here. We can't just sit around doing nothing forever. We could have gone in for attack here, but I like holding back this guy. Feels like an important thing to do. I don't think mana is going to be our opponent's bottleneck here. Muxus. I guess we cast the Brainstorm. We have 1 card that works. Force of Will. We found the Force of Will. Okay. I'm happy about that for us. I'll keep this Ponder. And I will Force of Will this. Now we've got a 3-3 blocker. Now this is the first Muxus, but what about second Muxus? Well, they nearly came with a House Squad then. Block here. We've got a Ponder that maybe does something here. In the order in shuffle, these cards do not do anything. Hydro Blast. That is a good one. I think we have to use this sparingly. Am I attacking in? Will they block here? I think we just have to hold again. We don't have anything to put on the top with the Hall of Heliod's Generosity. But we have an answer for the next Muxus. And our life totals are pretty close because they just tap into the Ancient Tomb every turn. No to Muxus. Counter target spell if it's red. Get out of here. And now we have a 2/2 Otter that can block the goblins. We got a Soul Snare for the House Squad Heavy. We've got a third Muxus. We the Immortal. That is infinite mana when they find the... We can exile this, but it doesn't really do us the most good. Do we just have to do that to save our life total? Maybe we do. Thanks, I hate it. Mystic Sanctuary that will come in tapped. Not ideal. I guess we are putting this Hydroblast into our hand and hoping that our opponent bricks for a turn. Am I trading this off for a 1/1? I think we're actually going on the offensive here. They're going to 5. They can cast any spell in their deck because they got a jillion mana. They're just going to play the Squeeze from Exile. It will have haste. We've got another Muxus. Okay. This is lethal on its own, unfortunately for us. Losing to the Mystic Sanctuary. No good. These all have got haste. GG's opponent. So we finished with an 0-5, and we only won a single game the entire league. Now, we probably could have played a little bit tighter in places. I'm not a Miracles expert by any stretch of the imagination. It's not really my sort of deck. But we just felt like we weren't doing anything this entire league, which is kind of sad. Like, everyone's threats were easily to slip through our defenses. You can't just turtle up in this format anymore. You need to do something proactive, and Miracles just doesn't do that. So let's have a look at the deck. I like some of the things we're doing, but I think the fundamental nature of what Miracles is trying to do just isn't playable. You can't try and reliably answer your opponent's things because every threat in the format is so powerful. You need to have a counterpunch. You need something else going on that you can do. If you look at the control decks that are actually viable in Legacy right now, you have Beanstalk Control, which has Failure plus Quantum Riddler. So sometimes it has a 4/6 creature and a 3/3 creature by the end of turn 3, as well as having a better draw engine than we have because they actually have the card advantage of Beanstalk, whereas we don't really have the card advantage we need. So that is a big problem for us, you know, if we're comparing ourselves to the other control decks. And like that other control deck isn't doing that well. Like the Beanstalk deck is fine, but it's not like a great deck. But it's got proactive plays that we don't really have. If we also look at one of the other control decks, probably the only other real control, I guess Grixis control kind of exists, but is a little bit front forward in terms of what it's trying to do. It's got some creatures that it plays to attack with and Murktide to try and close the game and play. It can play a little bit of a tempo game. And then, but the other like die-hard control deck really is Jeskai Control, which is running like 4 Tamiyo, which is obviously quite a proactive game plan and better than anything in our deck. Like Tamiyo is probably the best blue card in the format, probably the best card in the format right now. It is absurd how strong that card is. And we're in the colors, but we're not utilizing it, which feels like a mistake. We could just be running the Tamiyo and like you can just control a board. I'm not sure if you watched my video with Merfolk recently where this one Tamiyo managed to basically save them 20 life over the course of a game. That sort of impact is way more powerful than any of these things we're doing, just having that Tamiyo going. Now, there is a BNR coming soon, so maybe Tamiyo won't even be legal then. But that is a sort of tool that you need if you're trying to play a deck like this. Something that is just so absurdly powerful that it can control the game as a single 1-mana permanent. And we don't really have anything that controls the game that well. Like, Counterbalance is what we're trying to do, but it is not really going to do this. I think if you want to play Miracles, you need to rebuild the entire deck from scratch. I think trying to play this like nickel and diamond, playing your spells, countering stuff, that doesn't work. I think if you want to play Miracles, we probably want to be playing... Well, I'm not even sure if you call it Miracles, but if we're playing Counterbalance, I think we want to build more heavily into Counterbalance and play 4 copies of Counterbalance. And I actually like what we're doing with Replenish here, even though it never really came up. I think there's something in there. So what I want to propose that I'm probably going to play in a few weeks' time is, if the donor who donated to see this one wants to see some more Miracles, my idea is to play 4 times Enlightened Tutor to go alongside your Counterbalance. That way, you can just have a 1-mana, I'm going to counter your spell, but also tutor something useful for next turn. And we lean more heavily into the enchantment theme. We're not like a full tap-out deck or anything, but we're going to be trying to windmill some pretty big haymakers and using our Counterbalance. And maybe we're not even casting that many miracle spells. Maybe we're just playing like enchantment stuff. I know Brian Bosch and Roll on his channel, I think it was about a year ago now, played like a Parallax Tide deck in Legacy, and I think he went 5-0 with it. That doesn't mean the deck's great or anything. It means like he's a fantastic blue-white control player and managed to get some good matchups and stuff here and there and some like nice draws. I don't think it's like, oh, this is the way to play the deck. But we could draw from what that deck was doing. It's got some proactive game plans, which we really need if we want to compete in Legacy. Even the control decks have proactive game plans, and we just don't have one. So we can have that going on, and that allows us to play some more Replenish and just have like a big, oh, actually, we're the one with an I win button now. So we've controlled the game a little bit, done a few bits and pieces, boom, here we go. We can index more heavily into Counterbalance, and we can tutor for some like really scary permanents with our Enlightened Tutor, and maybe like our singletons become a lot better. And there's just a lot of ways that deck just sounds more impressive to me. So that's what I'm going to be working on in the background for a few weeks, and maybe put that on the channel. But I don't think like regular Miracles is a viable strategy in Legacy. And like we're playing things like Witness the Future. The purpose of this is so that you can keep going forever. Like between this and Mystic Sanctuary, you can keep shuffling everything that you need to back into your library, and you're never going to deck. But trying to play a game where your win condition is I have full control of the game is not a reasonable task in Legacy unless you're a prison deck. And even prison decks struggle to do that because there's so many threats that can go under it. There's things like Besage You that can usually get you out of locks and stuff like that. So just having the plan of we're going to go super late into the game and eventually win is completely unfeasible in Legacy. And that is where I think the problem with Miracles is. But I think there is a sweet Counterbalance deck to be built that I'm going to be working on. I also think Planar Disruption, this is a card that a lot of people balk at because obviously auras aren't as good as just removing something. But in a world where people are playing things like pre-war formalware, having this is actually better than that in some ways. And the fact that this can hit artifact, creature, or planeswalker means that it's such a flexible answer. So many people are reaching for like, oh, how can we play Prismatic Ending in our deck to answer these things? And like trying to cast like awkward 3 or 4 mana Prismatic Endings. Whereas this right here is a 2 mana answer for Kaito, Tamio, and the One Ring, as well as just like a bunch of creatures. Sure, people can bounce this, they can interact with it later on. But I think pound for pound, this card is actually pretty playable for what it does, and it's very flexible. And if you're looking for that like sorcery speed, I need to kill basically any permanent, this is the one you want, I think, in 2 colors. Like Prismatic Ending in a 2-color deck doesn't work. This fills that role nicely. So we're going to be going back to drawing board completely, and I'm going to build something from the ground up instead of sort of cribbing from somebody else's deck. Now, the deck I was submitted was probably a lot cleaner than this one, and it was probably a slightly better deck. But I wanted to try some of these like other options and really lean into the Hall of Heliod's generosity. Because I think Miracles is such a bad strategy in Legacy, I wanted to try something quite different. I think the problem with this deck is it wasn't different enough, and we can definitely build upon this and make a sweet deck in the future. And I hope you're excited to see that one. And sorry that we got an 0-5 today. It happens. I think, I'm not sure how many 0-5s I get on the channel. Not that many. But I think at least half of them at this point are probably Miracles. So we really need to do something else to make this deck function. And I've got some ideas for that. All right. I think we're done for today. So thank you so much for watching and joining us for this absolute shellacking that we took. Please remember to like and subscribe. Check out 3-for-1 Trading if you need to buy any counterbalances. Their link is in the description. And with that, goodbye. If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget turbo depths as well as 3 tiers of support. A low cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel. A mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed turbo depths guide that is updated every month as well as regular articles. And lastly, the higher tier gives you all of the above as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description.